waiting for you. Come and join us now. We need you with us. Come and join us.
Listening to the Democrats react to the shooting in Virginia Beach a few days ago it is so predictable. You know, I watched Kirsten Gillibrand go out on a Fox News town hall get-together and called the National Rifle Association the worst organization in America. An organization that profits on the sale of guns and so forth. Of course, they're a non-profit civil rights organization, but, you know, the comments are predictable enough. But what they fail to recognize is the scene has something in common with so many of these mass shooting events. Dr. John Lott here. He's the president of the Crime Prevention Research Center. You can always find out more at crimeresearch.org. Doctor, welcome back.
Good morning.
And I dislike these conversations, even though they're predictable. Nobody likes nobody likes the idea of a guy going in and shooting up his place of employment and killing a dozen people, then he dies in a gun battle with police. It's gut-wrenching. It's awful. And yet there are some common denominators, and I'm not talking about the National Rifle Association. Give me your first reaction to this particular event.
Well, I mean, I suppose it's the same as my reaction always is, how I'm let down. I'm very frustrated. It seems to me that there's almost a willingness on the part of much of the media to ignore what seems like obvious things that could be done. Instead, within 2 or 3 hours of the attack, you have people calling for a whole variety of different laws before they even know what happened in this situation, and laws that end up having absolutely nothing to do with stopping this attack. You know, it's like they really don't. I mean, they say they care, but I would feel a lot better if people would actually propose something that would actually matter. I mean, these are gut-wrenching events that occur, and you know, I look at this, and unfortunately, this thing, as you say, this tragedy had similarities to ones that we see time after time again. This operations building number 2 was a building where only government employees would be in. And the state of Virginia allows counties to make up their own decisions about whether employees can be armed or not. And this was one of the counties in Virginia that banned its local employees from being able to go and have guns for protection. This killer was...
So once again, the only people that are there to protect the employees once this shooting starts is a call to 911, a call to police to take however many minutes it takes to respond to the scene. By then, much of the damage is done. Nobody can return fire. There is no good guy with a gun, if you will. And it just seems gut-wrenching. But what I see from the Democrats is disheartening. I see not only the NRA being attacked, but I see people like Eric Swalwell and others saying what we need is to get rid of all semi-automatic guns. And if people don't turn them in voluntarily, we'll take them away from them. The more extreme they get, they seem to try to push that into the mainstream thinking of America. And that frightens me, because I don't know if in 50 years, Doctor, we'll have a Second Amendment in the United States. I don't know if my grandkids will be able to enjoy the same freedoms that I have.
Right. I mean, just over the weekend, I was listening to Bernie Sanders talk about the need to ban all machine guns as a result of this attack. And I'm listening to him talk, and I think he's talking about banning all semi-automatic guns. I mean, it's kind of bizarre that a senator from Vermont would be unable to distinguish between a semi-automatic gun and a machine gun. But, you know, in one sentence, he's talking attack. So, you know, I wish there was an easy way to get this point across. Let me back up a second. I think one of the big things that bothers me, and you mentioned this with Kirsten Gillibrand, is to demonize people on the other side. I mean, I think almost all of the presidential candidates. Look, I believe everybody wants the same outcome here. We all want to save lives. We have just very different approaches to trying to do that. I mean, I may think they're dumb and stupid, but that's a big difference from saying that they're evil. I understand their desire to go and ban guns or to ban guns in certain areas. I think that that's self-defeating because if you put a gun ban, it's basically the most law-abiding good citizens who obey it relative to the criminals. You may get some criminals to be disarmed, but the main effect is going to be on law-abiding citizens, and that time after time means more
I think
murders.
you make a great point there, Doctor. I mean, you nail it. You and I, we're not evil people. We believe in the right to self-preservation, to self-defense of myself as an individual, my family, my home, my community if necessary. We believe in self-preservation and self-defense. That doesn't make you and I evil, but that's the way they would paint us. You're a member of the National Rifle Association. You own guns. You're evil. I mean, no, we're not.
Yeah, I mean, I don't make the arguments that I do because I want to make money. Look, I'll give you one example of media bias. When I talk to the press, they refer to me as a gun rights person. People on the other side, they'll refer to as violence prevention advocates. Well, I have to tell you, I've never been big into guns. I don't have any big thrill about owning a gun. The reason why I started doing this research, and my views have changed a lot over time, is that I was trying to figure out what would save the most lives. I don't see why they should be able to go and get the label of being violence prevention advocates. That's what motivated me. That's what motivates me every day when I talk to you or I do research.
Right. So let me ask you then, Dr. John Lott with us, the president of the Crime Prevention Research Center.
Okay.
What do you think the steps are that we could take that could make us safer? We got about a minute and a half. Give me some ideas of some things you think that might actually work.
Right. Well, first of all, just say what's difficult, and that is trying to identify these individuals before they go and do the attacks. You have 50% of the mass public shooters over the last 20 years were actually seeing mental health care professionals pretty close to before the attack, and yet in not one single case were these people identified as a danger to themselves or a danger to others. The question you have to ask yourself, what's the backup plan? We can't go and station 2 police officers in every building in the country. These mass public shootings are not unique to the United States, no matter how many times over the weekend people say that. You have places like Russia or France that have much higher murder rates from mass public shootings over the last couple of decades than we've had here in the United States. You have other,
but you would never know that.
You never know that the attacks in other countries don't get media coverage. So my question is, what's your backup plan? And my thing is to get rid of these gun-free zones. Get rid of these areas where victims aren't allowed to protect themselves. This killer broke the law, or broke the rule policies there. He was a public employee. He was banned from having guns in the place.
Yeah, he was there. He broke the rules, the clear rules. We got to leave it right there. Dr. John Lott, making common sense again. CrimeResearch.org, the place to find out more. CrimeResearch.org, the place to be. To find out more with Dr. John Lott. And we'll talk again soon, my friend.
All right, thanks.